DJ Hobo, I respectfully, you have to know that your vote doesn't count at this point. But I do want to know if you're standing by your initial group that you stood by in the beginning, or do you feel differently at this point for round number one?
I am standing by my initial vote, sir. I definitely feel like at that point in time when the Pharcyde came out and this was the introduction, really great introduction to the album, gave you a good flavor of what the album was going to be like, as well as, it was something. I know we had Tribe at that point and De La, but it had kind of gotten a little gangsterish. So to come back to have a little bit more fun in the hip hop, I thought that was pretty dope. So when I was in college at that time, a young whippersnapper, first year in college, and I was bumping this a lot.
No, fair enough. I think that's a cool thing to even talk about. Maybe we could talk about just for a quick second. Again, just the difference in sound at that time, and when I hear a song like "Oh Shit," I can't help but think, I don't know why alternative comes to mind, when they use that phrase. And I don't know if it's a bad or a good thing, but who I could hear basically on that track as well at that same point in time is like Leaders of the New School.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Busta. I'm waiting for Busta's verse to just go ahead and it's like, I wouldn't have called Leaders of the New School alternative personally. Don't know how you guys feel about that, but it's just pretty interesting. But again, sounds were changing, even though they were still being introduced. That was so fly about the night.
Right.
And again, it was interesting to see it, even for us, like most of us, even Cool Breeze being on the West Coast, but he was the East Coast at the time. All of us to look at these two groups specifically at the time, being like, they're from the West Coast,
right? Yeah. The West Coast was very NWA, Too Short.
We had a very strong image in our ears and minds and eyes that were like, if you weren't throwing something up and just kind of doing that slow rhyming style, respectfully. But
I mean, you know what too? I don't know quick too. I mean, again, I mentioned this before on the show. That's to me what makes this era too so great is that if you've actually stepped outside of New York, hip hop was very regional back then during this time. So it's the reason why, if you even speak to like peace to my boy Al B, who was from Cali, and grew up in Cali in the 80s, you know what I'm saying? So 70s and 80s. So you already know like a lot of the East Coast stuff, migrated later on to the rest of the states a little bit later. So they fused their area with what was going on. So it's the reason why, like, when we think of West Coast, we think of like, Ice-T with Colors and NWA and, all of that stuff. And then so now to have groups like Souls of Mischief and the Pharcyde, it's kind of like, wow, like, it was kind of unexpected but dope at the same time.
And I think you said something before about being tied to like Tribe and things like that. And like, you got to remember Pharcyde, they were getting production from Jay Dilla and things like that. So they were getting something similar to that sound. So that's kind of why it was like, that jazzy rap or whatever you would like to describe.
I want to put something out there that's going to be super controversial that we can probably discuss in the next season of EBR season 4. But that Tribe Called Quest tree, is.
Are you claiming that this is a branch, an extension of the Tribe Called Quest tree?
I sure am.
Ooh. Can we just call it Native Tongues tree, or is it a tribe tree? Is it Native Tongues tree? It's a tribe
tree because Native Tongues is its own branch already, in its own section already. Because even after the Native Tongues tree, you could still kind of branch out a little bit, right? So to me, this is part of the same tree, but like another side of the branches, like on the other end, in my opinion.
Nah, man. I think it's a different plant. It's a different plant.
Oh. Okay.
Really?
Okay, similar. I'm saying you got influence. You got, you water it, put the manure, all that in the seed. It's a different. It's
a city tree. Is that what you're saying?
So you don't have to lump. You don't have to lump everything that's like tribe-ish together with the native.
No, I understand what you're saying. I totally see what you're saying. But the only thing is, my only answer to it is just that. If we said it now, like let's say if there was a group in 2024, which actually there is a group I found the other day, that's some young cats. If I found young groups today and they were coming out from different regions, I could say, you know what, those were just straight from the Pharcyde branch. You know what I mean? But I think, they're from the Souls of Mischief branch. But I think for that time period, it was the influence.
What is this group that you're talking about?
I have to send it in the chat because I forgot off the top of my head.
Shout out Malcontent in the building. I think Mr. September brings up a good question. And it kind of goes back to, I agree with Scan, but Malcontent's question is, I'm actually Mr. September's question is like, who gets more credit for the Bohemian rap style? Is it Tribe or Jungle? And this is why I wanted to say, instead of the Tribe tree, which I respect,
Sure.
I just feel more Native Tongues, because if you think about it, it's 92 by the time this album comes out, right? So they're influenced by the 91, Low End Theory is 91, I'm assuming, right? 91, 92, yeah, 91. Sure. So it's not like Tribe was like legendary yet. It was just a dope album. And it's like, oh, that's dope. Then so is Leaders, so is De La, so is Jungle. It's like all the Native Tongue member. I always felt like it was like, that's like our West Coast version. Like what would you call it? Like G-Unit West, right? Like it's like Native Tongue. Sure. But because again, I just felt like it fell under that umbrella. Now, if you wanted to call it under the Tribe umbrella, I just felt like it was a little too early. Maybe in hindsight now. But at that time, it was like there wasn't enough time for them to sink into, like, I think even then to be like, yo, Tribe is just amazing. I think it's like, yo, them brothers are dope. It's like, we're dope, but like to see the classicness in it yet, I don't know. I don't know if it would have been like, I would think it would have been insulting at that time to be like, you guys are like just like them, especially like I said with this version of like.
I see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying.
But the crew, the Native Tongues crew, was a vibe. That was like, yo, we all under this umbrella, like, and we all are kind of similar. But I've heard even like Questlove give up a whole perspective on that, where it's like when you're trying to create a new artist that has like a different sound, it's like you're not going to really get away with it so often. So it's like instead of trying to create that one artist with sound, you create community. So we're trying to create EPR, you know what I'm saying? Where everybody has their own version of the same opinion and it can all kind of contribute to it, right? So it's like a little out the way. But
Tim brings up a good point though. He said Low End Theory got 5 mics right away.
Facts. Facts. And this is a time when your contemporary would see that and go, oh shit, we need to listen to this shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a fact. It's a damn fact. But is that enough to be like, our debut project got to sound just like